Entonces la sentimos aquí cerca, la sentimos muy cerquita porque desde su corazón nos habla al nuestro. Así es, queridos colegas y enfermeros y enfermeras que durante estos 2 días hermosos nos han acompañado. Finalizamos con ella, con nuestra querida Margaret Jean Watson, una bella mujer que, repitiendo las palabras de Mariana, sabia, íntegra, humilde, transparente, especial. Jean es especial porque le dio a la enfermería las herramientas para identificar su gran poder, el poder de cuidar al humano en todo su ser. Ustedes conocen a la doctora Watson, fundadora y directora de Watson Caring Science Institute, una distinguida profesora emérita y decana emérita de la Universidad de Colorado y Denver, de la Facultad de Enfermería, del Centro Médico de Anschutz. Jean es ejemplo de superación, de entrega y de que siempre se puede ir por más, en conocimiento, desafíos y lucha por nuestra amada enfermería. La doctora Watson posee 16 doctorados y el reconocimiento mundial de ser una teórica contemporánea. Iluminó la enfermería ayer, hoy y día tras día con cada trabajo que hizo y sigue haciendo, como la teoría de la ciencia del cuidado humano, que impactó a los enfermeros y generó, como te generará a ti que me estás escuchando detrás de las pantallas, una motivación transformadora, un despertar, un sentir especial. Ya no me perdí. Perdón. Un sentir especial que te transportará a tu interior para que te descubras y te valores. Porque eres especial, querida Jean. Tú generas luces en el alma, que fusionadas en el corazón de cada colega profesional del cuidado que te escucha, y que si cierran sus ojos y abren su espíritu, podrán hacer llegar desde sus manos, desde sus miradas, ese cuidado amoroso que podrá cambiar la historia de su paciente o de su colega o de su propia vida. Gracias, gracias infinitas por existir, por estar aquí hoy y porque cerraremos este increíble evento contigo. Jean, te escuchamos atentamente. Inúndanos de amor.
Well, I'm overwhelmed with all this magnificent occasion. Both days have been spectacular. So I feel like my coming on at this point is an anticlimax to all your celebration and your joy and your singing and your movements are just gorgeous. So it's just a delight to share this a little bit with you. And I think that in summary, you are the program. I mean, really, we presented the first day with some overview of the U.S. scholars in caring science, with Dr. Ray and her bureaucratic, which we can all identify with those different lenses that we look at through caring. And then we saw the beautiful work of Dr. Marlene Smith and her focus on the unitary concepts of caring and those themes that she identified that we can almost relate to in any caring moment of this creative emergence and the dynamic flow and so forth. And then we had Howard Butcher with his really overwhelmingly comprehensive approach to unitary caring science and his history with Martha Rogers, which is history in the making that continues. And we're discovering that the unitary field with the moral, ethical, philosophical, metaphysical, epistemological grounding of caring within this broader context is what's moving us forward into the future. So you're part of this, and I've been so inspired by this organization, the implementation, the energy of this conference and all your participation as moderators and presenters from these different lenses of holistic palliative care issues, concrete nursing care, artistry, the experiential technology, as well as all of this shared connections here through this celebration of music as kind of a closure. So what I have is just a very few slides to kind of summarize this without, I feel like we're changing the energy field. So I don't want to dilute the beauty of what you've been experiencing, but I do have just 2 or 3 few slides here to sort of highlight what I'm speaking about at this point. So, can you see my slides? Yes. So just by closing again, I think the conference itself has been a focus for highlighting the advantages as well as the challenges, but really the celebration, I think, is what's happening with this work, and you're part of it. And it's also a reminder that we're in this critical transition time. It's tumultuous times in our world, and we're needing caring and unitary field consciousness more than ever. And it kind of calls us and invites us into this really inspired new old unitary worldview, which invites us into this evolving consciousness, this moral compass that guides us individually and collectively through our world. It returns us to this sacred circle of life and death, and even beyond. We're having so much now happening across the world about life and death after life. Death doesn't end, maybe with the physical body, but life continues. So we have this whole consciousness of all of our relations with self and other and Mother Earth and the universe that unitary caring science holds now in its hands as this broader advancement for nursing as the caring, healing, and health profession for the future. I'm almost wanting to say that this is far out, but I'm wanting to say that in the future, nurses will be metaphysicians, because they'll be able to navigate the spiritual with the concrete and the health and healing that brings in this deeper unitary field for healing and the energy processes of wholeness and so forth. So as our reminder that our worldview, just as a stepping back, our worldview and our disciplinary foundation informs our science and our practice. So how we think about ourselves as humans and all the vicissitudes of our humanity and spirit-filled dimensions of our divinity, as well as our physical being, is all part of what is the starting point with our work and theories and developing our work. And it's a reminder from Parker Palmer that the way in which we develop our knowledge is so important, because the shape of our words and the forms of our knowledge can inform or deform the human soul through the nature of our knowledge. So if we use knowledge that's all concrete and dense and diagnostic and labeling and judging, then that informs or deforms the human soul, in contrast to language of caring, of love, of healing, of wholeness, of grace, of beauty, of trust, and so forth. This is our beautiful paradigm of our humanity evolving. And this is too much to see, but I just kind of did this contrast, the dialectic between the dominant worldview of Western science that we're working our way out of into the evolving caring science. And it shifts us from this starting point of being separate to one of unity. Our worldview, ways of being, are really not in a separatist way, but in a relational being and becoming, connectedness, and all. We move away from physical phenomena alone to deal with the non-local consciousness, non-physical phenomena, the energetic field for health and healing, which becomes metaphysical. And we move away from the epistemology, which is objectified and just all empirical, all that we can touch and feel, to expanded methodologies, inviting all kinds of potential ways of exploring and affordable caring inquiry for creative emergence, and using art, music, and sound, performance, and all sorts of methods that are still evolving. And our pedagogies then go from that restrictive content to really emancipatory, integrating arts and science in the whole person, and new patterns of delivery of teaching and learning. And we move from practice, which has been conforming to the status quo, not critiquing, not able to critique because we didn't have the evolved consciousness and theories to critique. And so we just practice as doing. And now when we step into this work, we go into ways that we can see things differently. We can define theory as theoria, the Latin word, which means to see. We see things differently now. We have a new consciousness. So we have this morally informed, universal approach to critique our ways of practicing that integrate all ways of knowing in the fullness of our humanity. And then we move from policy, which has been very institutionalized and political, to policies that really bring us back to the sacred dimensions of our work and our life. And so carrying science there at the highest level becomes a love of service, a love of infinite possibilities, a love of cosmic consciousness, a love of nursing. And we get to honor love as the highest level of consciousness, the greatest source of all healing, the energy of cosmic love. And then I love this quote from Teilhard de Chardin. One day, after we have mastered the winds and the waves, the gravity, and the tides, we will harness for God the energies of love. And I think that's kind of where we are at this tipping point in our humanity. And so as we step forward into this work, we're actually working with the life force of ourselves as well as others. We're entering the sacred circle of life and death and beyond. We're touching the heart and soul of humans and the divine planet Earth. And we're here to preserve and sustain human dignity and our humanity at this crossroads. And so carrying science then integrates the head and the heart, as well as the hands, and to see this unitary consciousness. We move beyond fear and ego, and these moments become part of the complex pattern of your life. We never know how we're touching the life of another person. These moments of caring transcend time and space and physicality and last through time. So even today, in these last 2 days, creating this sacred space that you participated in will last for us and inform our next moments. So this heart-centered consciousness helps us to repattern and feel for ourselves. And this practice of loving kindness and caring science begins to clearly honor ourselves and others. It's how we treat ourselves for treating others. And then I'm just summarizing again Dr. Smith's paper and her summary, because I think these are so important to be reminded of, that you might think about in any one moment these Caritas ways of being, which are these transpersonal caring moments within the unitary field, what we're actually doing, whether we're aware of it or not. We're manifesting our intentions. We're appreciating the pattern. We're tuning to this dynamic flow. We're able to experience the infinite mysteries and miracles. And by the way, congratulations on all the authors and Hector and the celebration of your book of Mysteries and Miracles. And I think it's so exciting to have you share that work. And this invites this creative emergence, which allows us to expand our consciousness and move into totally new ways that draw on the creativity of the human spirit. And it leads us into caring science, indeed a sacred science. And when we clarify that Carrying science is sacred science. It's grounded in the love of humanity. It's a different cosmology. It's a cosmology of unity, of relationships of all, and the unitary field level. It's connectedness of all. It unites us in this universal field of infinite love, which is the energy field of life, which is nature's source for healing that we draw upon with all those carried healing modalities that you're touching the life of another person. And these become these universal tasks for our humanity to advance, dealing with illness and suffering, the meaning of life and death, and it embraces all the vicissitudes of our humanity. And this is a definition I have of sacred activism, because I think when we're practicing caring in this way, in this broader way that people may not even understand yet, is a form of sacred activism to better the world. And here's a definition I've adopted from Andrew Harvey, who was with the United Nations as a very mystic scholar. So sacred activism is a transforming force of compassion and action with fusion of deep philosophical, spiritual, cosmic consciousness awareness with love and passion, but it leads to wise, radical, moral action in the world. And this work that we're doing is an essential force for preserving and healing the planet and all of its inhabitants. So you are needed, nursing is needed at this crossroads. And we see this definition again of the advancement of the profession of nursing definition in the US, reminding us of the art and the science of caring, with a focus on healing, suffering, compassionate presence, recognizing connection of all. This is a unitary field model that holds caring science. And so in closing then, when we step into caring science in this unitary field, we get to celebrate this because we get to bring love back into nursing and back into our science and celebrate it and make it explicit and honor it. And it provides a language of these universes of human caring phenomena that's been invisible and behind the scenes and ad hoc. And it introduces this transpersonal, metaphysical, sacred dimensions. We have to celebrate this. This is what we stand for. This is what we hold for humanity. And it integrates the finest of our caring and healing arts and all these energetic caring healing modalities that nurses have been doing across time. This wise wisdom wonders. And it provides us with this full circle of knowledge as a discipline. It starts with our philosophy, our values, theories, our views of science, our worldview, all the way down to our practice. So all of this is a full circle of knowledge, including even some of the measurements that we have now to bring full circle. So we're part of an evolving full circle for the discipline of nursing and advancing. And of course, in closing again, it returns us to the light of our shared humanity and this sacred connection we have that connects us across time and space. So I'm celebrating with you. And I'm so touched by the celebration and the advancement of this program. And I want to thank Hector and Julie, but also all the hard work from all the different countries and the way all the moderators have taken such a lead in this program and celebrated and had the opportunity to really celebrate from their different points of view. So it's been quite a joy. And I thank Alana, if she's still here, for her presence in translating. I haven't seen her, but I trust she's here. So with that, Hector, I'm wondering if we should do a whoosh.
Yeah. wait, but the sons, we have some people that have questions for you.
Oh, okay, sure. Let me
You
know.
don't have only Melanie. You have Melanie and Paul. You have translated in Spanish and in Portuguese. Two translators.
Okay, well, so tell me what the questions are so I can.
Yeah. Okay. No preguntas.
We have, so Melanie and Paul Robert are translating for you. They are sort of in the back. You can't see them, unfortunately.
Oh, okay, well,
They
give them
have been wonderful. They have been wonderful. Yesterday was extraordinary. So give them a big hand. Well done, Melanie and Paul. Beautiful.
and Thank you, Fran.
And Fran has been absolutely fantastic. Fran, where are you? Shout out to Fran. There you
I
go.
see her.
Fantastic Zoom manager, and of course, Christian. Someone said, Jean, I believe that nurses are already, let's start with Carol. Jean, I believe that nurses are already medical physicians, mental nurses.
All right. Good. Because that's going to be the title of my book. That's what I'm working on.
Yes.
It's like the next leap, beyond the physical body and all of the focus of medicine. It's like we get to be wise healers.
I think also, we need to change the narrative. The narrative is, oh, nurses are burning out. But actually, they're burning out from the old pattern, the old way of doing. So, of course, we're changing that. All about changing the whole field to know what is inspiring us. Who are you? And how can I help you with your life, your healing, your journey? I love that.
So, are there other questions? Are you mediating this?
Yes, but they're in Spanish, so Hector.
Spanish. Oh, well, Hector or someone else.
I have one in English
Oh, okay, wonderful. Is it who is it?
from yesterday. I'm Roxana.
Oh, Roxana.
Roxana, are you from Mexico, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Do you know what? I'm gonna be in Hermosillo at the same hospital in December. So I'm excited to.
Una palabra. ¿Sí?
Yeah, in December.
Buenas tardes, maestra. Solamente,
Carolina, are you there?
solamente valorar su presencia en esta tierra, solamente celebrar su vida, honrarla por el ser de luz que usted es. De verdad, ha generado transformaciones inmensas en el sistema de salud. Muchas gracias. Gracias a su hija Yuli, gracias a Héctor, gracias a todos los que formamos la familia de luz. Bendiciones para usted.
Ok, ¿qué pasó con la pregunta?
No hay pregunta, era solamente.
No,
¿Puedo hacer una pregunta, por favor?
Since
Susana, dale adelante.
since we believe that nurses carry these theories to the clinical activity, and we have a rupture between research, academic, and clinic, since the model is strongly biomedical. Any suggestions from Dr. Watson to take our first steps based on her waiver?
Let me see if I can repeat the question if I understand it. She's asking in a clinical setting how she can take first steps to implement the theory in practice. Is that the sense of the question?
Because right now we have a rupture between research, academic, and clinic.
Oh, okay. So she wants to know how you bring theory into all of those areas at the starting point. Well, what I recommend highly are new partnerships between academic and clinical settings where you are sharing all the goals of the profession, which are education, practice, and research, and leadership, really, too. So if you have these partnerships, then you have your academic faculty who may have higher degrees and more skills in research can be partners with clinical nurses and develop research together from the ground up. So that's one pattern that we've used across time with my work in Colorado, and it was extremely successful. The other thing that we did, we created new practice educational opportunities for staff nurses. If they had their bachelor's degree and they applied to be a clinical teaching associate with their faculty, we paired faculty with clinical nurses, staff nurses, and then the faculty were there with the staff nurses in the clinical setting for education and research. But when faculty was on the site, they were doing educational programs. They were doing case conferences, care conferences, and rounds, etc., doing educational programs and involving the staff at the grassroots level in circles. If you use circles, they're very powerful because it breaks down the hierarchy, and it invites everyone in to participate with their ideas, and you can start sharing caring moments, and you can actually do research by having nurses find evidence of the Caritas process in their own caring moment experiences, finding evidence of those themes that Dr. Marlene identified. So, these are some examples of some of the things that you can do. And then if you have any projects that you want to highlight, the Institute, Watson Caring Science, has a Lotus Award program that we can begin to, you can apply for and be recognized for your projects in a very creative ways. You're already doing all this amazing stuff, so you might as well celebrate it and get recognition for it. And then it radiates out and inspires other people to do similar things. So I see Eric's hand is up. It's so good to see you, Erica. If you have a question, Eric.
Para cambiar el modelo biomédico nacional y la otra principales a las políticas de salud. Creo que necesitamos trabajar las instancias de que esto sea accesible desde la política. No tenemos en otros países de América Latina, salvo Perú y Costa Rica, una política de cuidado, una política de creo que es necesario cómo podemos llegar a ese.
A ver, la pregunta fue bastante larga y está complicado para traducir. Entonces vamos a pasar a Melanie, que es la traductora de español, para que ella haga
Se la puedo ir haciendo más lento.
Vamos a pasar a la traductora para que ella te haga la pregunta.
They want to get a translator just to make sure the question is asked correctly. So bear with us.
Thank you.
Un momento.
It says slowly everybody's faces. I love the face.
Okay.
Estoy trabajando en una escuela de medicina y de qué manera podemos transferir este conocimiento a otras profesiones de salud pública. Y la segunda pregunta, ¿cómo quedó la historia política de salud? Facultad de Medicina dice a los otros profesionales de salud transferir este conocimiento a los profesionales de salud y cómo trabajar con ellos.
She's actually right now working at a school, a medical school, and she wants to know how she can bring all this knowledge to other healthcare professionals, and how can she work with the policies or the politics of this with them.
Well, one way
Una manera
to move forward
de avanzar
is to acknowledge with
es
them
reconocer con ellos
that everyone needs to be in a different place with all the
que
changes
cada quien
going on in the world.
necesita estar en un diferente lugar con todo.
And you can begin to share with them that maybe to move forward and help to bring about change, we need to go back and visit our core values and our shared philosophy.
Sorry, you're on mute. I don't know what happened there. Sorry. Can you unmute yourself?
I'm sorry. So I was suggesting you can help them to go back and look at shared core values that are guiding you together for health sciences beyond medical science. And you can look at shared philosophies and values that you want to move forward for health and healing that transcend medical treatment at all costs. And then to do that, you can pose to them Carrying Science is an evolved model of science that embraces all the finest of medical science, but it takes science to a higher level and we deal with humanity and a different vision of humanity and treatment and cure and treatment and healing beyond just cure at all costs. So if you're able to share some of those points of view in safe space, you help to unite the conversation rather than create those divisions, because we're all needing to share something at a higher level. And this time, we're at a turning point for humanity right now. And medical science knows this as well. So I've just purchased this book, which I'll share with you. It's very, very powerful. I've just bought it, it's just out. It's called The Myth of Normal. It's by a physician out of Canada. But he talks about the failure of the medicine from the standpoint of not understanding healing and the deep wounds that we carry with us across time that trigger illness. So he really critiques even the treatment of illness unless you go back and deal with the depths of our humanity and our human experiences. So it's another way to maybe bring us a medical perspective for conversation, because they might want to be familiar with this. His name is Gabor Mate, Gabormate, and it's called The Myth of Normal. And it's talking about the toxic culture we're in that requires healing beyond our traditional ways of treating. So maybe that's one other way to kind of expand the conversation and invite them in. I'll tell you another thing that's happening at Stanford. They have been implementing Carrying Science throughout their professional practice model for several years now. And in the last year and a half, they started a program of a series of modules that are kind of baseline about Carrying Science, but it invites anybody in the hospital, anybody in the health practitioners to participate in these series of modules together. And we've had respiratory therapists, chaplains, so forth in this program. So it's another way to invite other people in without creating a problem or blaming others, but just inviting people in. You can't force this. It's always an invitation, but we have to create opportunities to invite people in to share this work. And once you do that, it becomes contagious, is what I'm experiencing. It's really like what's happening in Latin America. It's like we're all hungry for something else that's more significant than the way we've been living our lives and our practices. So hopefully that's helpful, Eric.
I think
Y tuvimos un problemita ahí con la traductora en español, pero tuvieron la suerte de escucharla en portugués. ¿Qué nos pasa por tantos idiomas?
I just wanted to add, it's Stanford Health is working with creating Caritas partners in their system. But similarly, we're working with nurse leaders. So it's all different levels of people throughout the hospital system. So you don't just have the top level, you have a two-pronged, two-way approach so that people understand the change of culture. It takes time, but
but it is true, if you don't have that buy-in from the executives, it's very difficult. And so that is why it's so important to speak the language, to understand this, so that you can share it in those sort of meetings, if you see what I mean.
I've actually been in sessions, like at Stanford is another example, where a physician happened to walk into the room. He got the wrong room. And he stayed to hear me speak. And he said, oh, we should all be doing this. You know, it's not just nursing. So, you know, once they get exposed to it, they begin to change. And thank you, Erica, for your beautiful picture.
Saben que para que Melanie hiciera la traducción, todo quiera se complica un poquito. Entonces, si tienen una pregunta, la ponen en el chat, pero rapidito, le hacemos la traducción y se la pasamos. Si alguien tiene una pregunta, lo escribe en el chat, le hacemos la traducción y se la pasamos.
Ya hay 2 preguntas en el chat.
Ah, ok. Yo no veo una pregunta. ¿La estás viendo? ¿Cuál pregunta es?
So Monica and AD.
Mónica.
Bear with us.
It's lovely to see Melanie's face.
Yes, there you are, Melanie. Are you able to see the chat, Melanie? The one maybe that Monica has put. It's maybe a comment. Oh, let's see. We need to. We can't hear you. Bear with me. Maybe I'll call you.
Dime, Roma. ¿Qué tal? Dime. Estoy en una conferencia. Yo te llamo cuando estoy con el break, ¿ya? Ya, está bien.
Hey, Julie. Hey, if you can tell Jean on the phone the question in English.
Sure. Do you want me to say it right now?
Yes, please.
It's creative, improvising, creative emergence.
Okay, so it says, how can we make the healthcare practitioners in the hospital the importance of implementing these techniques on the patient when the patient only wants to take a medical side to it or they don't accept any other type of investigation?
Well, you might start with just basic needs, basic care. For example, touching the patient, being present to the patient, listening to them just to hear that they only want the physician. But then offering, you know, like one of the nurses recently told me, the first thing she does when she takes care of a patient, she goes in the room and she does foot care. Just doing something so basic and so loving can actually shift the patient's experience and what they want and need. What they think they need from medicine might be one thing, but what they need really is the sense of caring and love in addition to whatever the treatment is. So if the nurse can be authentically present, listen to their story, offer them even indirectly a healing touch or reflexology or just intentional touch or these energy comfort measures, that goes a long way. But their authentic presence and their listening to the patient's story might be one of the greatest gifts that they can give them, to open up a different kind of relationship to really want and accept the nurse's care at a different level. Because caring can be at the very basic physical level with that loving kindness presence, but it can also move into these caring healing modalities like Jacqueline and Erica, of these healing and holistic approaches that are now being sought after by patients and needed more than ever, these energetic caring healing modalities. But they can be implemented in the midst of doing basic care. The way in which you touch someone, the way in which you're present to someone, the way you can energetically create this presence with them. So these are very concrete as well as abstract ways of being present and opening up a different relationship with that patient to create trust, so that they trust you, and then they will be able to express their needs to you and have a little more intimacy in what they want to share with you. I hope that's helpful.
Thank you, Jean. Julie, I sent to you another question.
Yes. Haiti asks, so we are in a complex health system where the burden of administrative tasks weakens the encounter with the patient. Do you have statistics on statistics that show the positive changes for patients by having nurses educated in caring science?
Well, the most recent we have a lot of anecdotal evidence, but we have some concrete measurements that we did through this breast gaining research. And it shows a very direct relationship between some of the Caritas processes that nurses were practicing and patients' experience that were positive outcomes, to the point that they actually they wanted to recommend that hospital to others, which is kind of an economic issue. I'm trying to find I had a copy of the slide that actually showed that. I can't find it right now, but
Let's see if I can find it while you're talking.
It shows a direct correlation between the caring process, selected ones of the caring processes, such as basic needs of human dignity and the healing environment, but also they were correlated with listening to the patient. I can't remember those items, Julie. I don't know what I did with my document. I'm working on many things here at once. No, never mind. I can't find it. But I wish I could show it to you, because it shows. Well, these are the measurements. These are the questions that we're asking patients. And so these measurements of delivering my care with loving kindness, meeting my basic needs with dignity, this helping trusting relationship, creating a healing environment, and these values and beliefs are all questions now that are being asked of patients nationally through the survey of breast gaining, which many hospitals, hundreds of hospitals use, because they have to have outcome data to get funding for their system. And these relationships between caring and patient outcomes is critical to the patient outcome data that allows the hospital to continue. So this is one very concrete form of evidence that we have established, to the extent that breast gaining now is including these items. I want that one free slide that I had, Julie, if you have that one. This back up, this one more, back. This is really important. These are 5 hospitals that use these same items. You see the different items there. But look at this, the one on the far side, always is the most common response to all the Caritas questions. But go on up, Julie, go further up, go on down, go on down, go on down. Look, right here, stop. See this? One of those hospitals had a negative variation. In other words, they had patients saying they never received loving kindness from anybody in their hospital. So you see the Prescani researchers highlighted this and said, look at this negative correlation between loving kindness for this hospital, that we need to really pay attention to this, because just as if we want to see the positive correlation we see up here, but we also want to realize this is a problem. If a hospital patients are saying they never receive loving kindness, this is critical dimension. So anyway, this is another form of research that we're showing the importance of caring. And by the way, this instrument, these 5 items that we're working with, this is the only data hospitals have on patients' experience of caring. The other data they have is about whether the room was clean, whether the food was cold or hot, and all those kind of external variables. This is the only form of research that they have now in hospitals. I'm hoping it will be expanded where other hospitals will use it, but now it's restricted to those that are tied to the Prescani survey. But nevertheless, it's quite a few hundred. So we're continuing to do this research and systematically gathering data with Prescani to publish this. So this is like a pilot, so that just gives you one form of evidence. But hospitals are telling me, like we have Stanford and others, are showing the retention rate is much, much higher, even during the pandemic. Nurses who were there practicing caring, they stayed. They did not leave. And likewise, nurses are wanting to be in hospitals. So you have hospitals where nurses are leaving because they're not able to practice caring. Really, that's the truth of it. So when you have the opportunity for the leadership to provide a culture by which nurses are practicing their own profession of caring and healing and health, then they start paying attention to the need for nurses and retaining nurses. I have another hospital, just as another example, that's saying that it's old paradigm thinking to talk about nurse retention. It's not enough to just think about keeping all nurses, just keeping bodies there. We have to think about creating a caring and healing environment where nurses can practice their profession of caring and healing and health. And that's starting to be used now because one of the measures is on a healing environment. And one of the hospitals we're working with is now using the hospital healing environment measure to put pressure on the administrators and the board, because if there's evidence of a toxic environment through that measure, these administrators are not going to get a salary increase. Right now in the U.S., all the chief executive officers, the head of the medical director, and everybody else in the board, including the board, their salary increases, which are enormous, are tied to patient outcome data. So now they're tying it to the culture of the system, not just the patient outcomes. So this is totally transformative thinking. So this too is part of what we're elevating, hopefully, within these networks of hospitals we're working with.
Beautiful. I'm going to ask.
Wait.
Okay.
I say it's time for start the close. So I have only one question more. I think so it's better for close of the conference. We have the special part in the webinar was about holistic. So Shin, please, can you remind us the 7 sacred sutra, please? The last question.
Want me to share my sutras?
Yes, please.
Oh, I love that. I'm happy to do that. Oh, okay. Let's take a deep breath. Yes. Okay, my sutras are actually my practice to sustain myself and in relation to carrying science, the sacred science. And a sutra is a word or a short phrase that carries higher vibration energy. It's not the word itself, but it's pointing to a higher dimension of God consciousness or spirit realm. So my first sutra is stillness. Just be still. Right now, be still. Second sutra is silence. Just allow yourself to go into deep silence and feel really silence all around you. So when you're still and you experience silence, it can be so profound. It's like you hear the roar of silence. And the third sutra is solitude. To go into that aloneness, quiet time, to be still, to welcome silence, and to hold that solitude away from all the mail and the crowd, by being connected with yourself. So when you have stillness, silence, solitude, you open to spirit. And here you open to hearing yourself deep within as well as spirit guidance. And holding that open space for spirit emergence. Connecting with that infinite field. And from that space, the next sutra is simplicity. To simplify and empty out. To just be clear about what really matters. To move forward. And from simplicity, from stillness, silence, solitude, spirit, simplicity. The next one is service, as in sacred service. And each of us are in sacred service with this work in our world. As we deepen our life and open our heart to the depths of our humanity and healing that we have to offer to the world. And the last one is surrender. That we do not have all the answers. And we have to be open to these mysteries and these miracles that we offer to our life and to our world, which opens us up to that infinite field of universal love that connects us and protects us across time and space. So thank you. Namaste. I hope these are helpful for you.
Thank you so much. We love you. Thank you so much.
My pleasure.
Creo que este es el mejor cierre para cerrar nuestra webinar. Como empezamos agradeciendo, vamos a finalizar agradeciendo. Agradecer a todos por haber participado, a todos por haber estado preparado sus ponencias, sus trabajos, a todo el equipo que hizo posible esto, al comité organizadores, científicos, sus comités, a todos los países que están involucrados en la ciencia del cuidado. Y vamos, para terminar, vamos a hacer el famoso push de la doctora Watson. Si no lo conocen, decimos 1, 2 y 3. Cuando decimos 3, decimos push y mandamos toda la energía hacia el universo. ¿Ok? Y hacemos push y levantamos los brazos. ¿Ok? Entonces, push,
Okay, this is like a ritual we do with all our programs. So first of all, you have your left hand is open to receive, so you hold it open to receive, and your right hand is down to give, so you hold that position. And then we're going to do 1, 2, 3, and on the fourth one we're going to go whoosh. Okay, so together. 1, 2, 3, whoosh. Okay, so all of your work, all of our work is now in this field. It's in this unitary field. So all we have to do now is just walk into it. So we're already there. Thank you. God bless. Namaste.
Oye, comparten las champañas.
Gracias.
Un abrazo para todos. Muchas gracias. Muchas gracias.
Gracias.
Gracias, gracias, Jan. Un abrazo.
Gracias a todos.
Gracias.
Gracias también a todos.
Gracias, Marcia.
Gracias. Chao, Héctor. Gracias, Héctor.
Gracias, Héctor. Gracias, Mabel.
Gracias a ustedes. Andina, chao.
Chao, Mabel. Gracias. Un abrazo fuerte para todos.
Abrazos.
Gracias a todos.
La Yuli la va a contar.
Gracias, Julie.
Ahora celebrar la vida. Champán.
A compartir el champán.
Un abrazo para todos. Muchas gracias.
Marcia, gracias.
I love you.
Gracias.
Los quiero mucho. My family.
También.
Muchas gracias.
Recording stopped.